I was sitting in the plush waiting lounge of one of the most expensive prenatal clinics in Atlanta, Georgia, gently rubbing my barely noticeable 16-week belly. The sunlight filtered through the massive glass windows, warming the white marble floor, making everything look peaceful, almost unreal. Anyone looking at me would think I was a woman living the sweetest phase of her life, especially with a caring husband like Marcus. Marcus stood a few feet away at the reception desk, signing some papers. He kept glancing back at me with that soft, reassuring smile he'd perfected over the years. The kind that made strangers whisper, "She's lucky. Her husband adores her." He had always been that man, thoughtful, patient, the kind who remembered every anniversary and bought gifts for both sides of our family. Since I'd become pregnant, he'd doubled his efforts, helping me upstairs, waking at night to soothe my nausea, even canceling work meetings to bring me to my appointments. To the world, he was the ideal man. To me, he had been my anchor. But lately, a quiet uneasiness lived in my chest. Marcus had been coming home late, phone locked, whispered calls on the balcony. Whenever I asked, he gently told me not to worry because stress wasn't good for the baby. I tried to believe him. I tried to blame hormones. I tried to be the happy wife everyone believed I was. The quiet hum of the clinic was suddenly broken when a woman in her 50s stepped toward me. She wore a crisp white coat and a badge that read, "Supervisor Ms. Davis." She gave me a polite smile. "You're Marcus's wife, right?" she asked. I nodded proudly. Yes. Her smile flickered. Something unreadable passed through her eyes. Something between hesitation and sympathy. She leaned in slightly. "I need to ask you something, and I'm sorry if it sounds strange." My heart tightened. "What is it?" Ms. Davis checked that Marcus wasn't watching. Then she took out her phone, tapped the screen, and held it toward me. "Do you know the woman in this picture?" I looked down, and the world tilted. The image showed a dim hospital hallway. A woman leaned heavily against a man's chest, her face pale behind a mask. And that man was unmistakably Marcus. My stomach churned. My hand froze over my belly. I whispered, barely breathing, "When was this?" "Last month," Ms. Davis said softly. "He brought her here for a termination." The pregnancy was over 4 months along. The walls seemed to close in on me. The chair beneath me felt like air. The woman's eyes, though half hidden, I knew them. My sister-in-law Chanel, and everything I believed about my marriage shattered. But the worst part wasn't the photo, it was the truth I uncovered after it. My pulse hammered in my ears as I stared at the photo. It felt like someone had punched the air out of my chest. That back, that profile, that gentle way he supported her, I knew those gestures better than my own reflection. And the woman leaning on him? Even masked, her eyes and build were unmistakable. Chanel? My brother-in-law Andre's wife. For a moment, I couldn't hear anything. Not the soft reception music. Not the hum of the air conditioner, just a loud, drowning buzz. My fingers curled over my stomach protectively. My husband. And I forced myself to speak. Why was she here? Why? Why did he bring her? Ms. Davis hesitated. She was crying a lot that day. He stayed with her the entire time. He paid, signed all the forms. Kept telling her things like, "We'll get another chance." At the time, I assumed they were husband and wife. Her words carved through me like glass. "We'll get another chance." Marcus had said those exact words to me during my own pregnancy scare. I felt sick. Last month, the 15th, I quickly searched my memory. That was the same day Marcus claimed he had a 2-day business trip. That was the same week Chanel told the family she was staying at her mother's house. Andre had even joked over dinner that she was always delicate. The puzzle I had been unable to solve for weeks suddenly snapped into place, painfully, perfectly. I swallowed, trying to push down the trembling in my voice. "Can you send me that picture?" Ms. Davis studied my face, perhaps expecting me to break into tears or faint. Instead, I gave her a calm, icy stare that even surprised me. She nodded. Of course, but please, don't mention my name. I could lose my job. I won't, I whispered. Thank you. My phone buzzed seconds later, the photo delivered. Right then, Marcus turned from the counter, smiling warmly as he walked toward me with the appointment folder. The same man who had been comforting another woman, my own sister-in-law through an abortion only weeks earlier. All set, sweetheart, he said softly. Ready to see the doctor? I stood up on unsteady legs. His familiar hand brushed my shoulder, a touch that had always comforted me. Now it felt cold, foreign, wrong. Inside the exam room, I barely heard the doctor's words. Something about the baby growing well, resting more, taking vitamins. The world had turned into a muffled blur. Marcus held my hand gently, unaware that every touch made my skin crawl. As soon as we got into the car, I opened the photo again. My throat tightened. But this time, the ache transformed into something sharper, a chilling clarity. If I confronted him now, he would deny everything. His family would protect him. They always did. So instead, I decided something else. If he wanted to play games behind my back, then I would play smarter. Because what I discovered next in his office drawer made the betrayal much darker than an affair. That evening, Marcus behaved exactly like the devoted husband everyone admired. He held the door open for me, warmed my milk, rubbed my shoulders, and fussed over the tiniest things. If I hadn't seen that photo earlier, I would have believed every gesture. But now, every gentle touch felt like a lie wrapped in kindness. I watched him plug in the kettle. His back turned toward me, the same back Chanel had leaned against while crying over the child she lost. My stomach twisted. I had to grip the arm of the chair to steady myself. You look tired, he said softly, placing the warm glass of milk in front of me. Drink, it'll help. I nodded, pretending to sip. His eyes searched my face. For the first time, I sensed worry, not for me, but for the truth he feared I might know. I'm fine, I murmured, pushing back my chair. Just need rest. As I walked past him, I felt his gaze burning into the back of my head. He knew something was off, but he couldn't guess what. I entered the bedroom and quietly locked the door. The small metallic click echoed like a gunshot. Marcus froze outside, stunned. I had never locked him out of any room, not once in our marriage. Moments later, I heard his slow footsteps retreating. I sat on the bed, forcing my breathing to steady. I opened my phone again and zoomed in on the photo. Marcus's eyes in that picture were the same ones he used when comforting me. Soft, sincere, full of emotions he no longer deserved to offer me. He had given those to Chanel, to... I swallowed the rising anger and whispered, no rushing, no crying, no mistakes. For my baby's sake, I had to stay calculated. I needed evidence, real, undeniable evidence. The next morning, Marcus left for work earlier than usual, probably to figure out how much I knew. Once I was sure he was gone, I moved through the house quietly. No snooping, only checking the obvious places. His home office was neat, as always. The first drawer opened easily. And there it was. A time-off request form, dated the exact same day. Ms. Davis said they were at the clinic. My pulse spiked. I opened the next drawer. A hospital bill. From the same clinic. For the same procedure. Signed by Marcus. My knees nearly gave out. I sank onto the edge of the bed, covering my mouth to keep from gasping. This wasn't suspicion anymore. This wasn't a misunderstanding or hormonal imagination. It was the truth. Cold, written, paid for. My hands trembled as I took photos of everything. The form, the bill, the signature. I saved them in a secure folder, locked under a new password only I knew. Just as I slid the papers back into place, the office door opened. Marcus stood there. His eyes scanned the drawer, then my face. Something inside him shifted fear. "What are you doing?" he asked, voice tight. I smiled calmly. "Looking for my sonogram. Thought I left it in here?" He didn't believe me. Good. Fear would make him careless. But the real shock wasn't Marcus's betrayal. It was what Chanel confessed when I confronted her alone. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, the image of Marcus supporting Chanel replayed like a cruel film. But the longer I stared at the ceiling in the darkness, the clearer my resolve became. By morning, I knew what I had to do. I left the house quietly and took a cab straight to my in-laws' home. I needed to see Chanel alone. When I stepped into the living room, she stumbled in from the patio, pale and visibly startled to see me. "You came early," she whispered. "Yes," I said calmly. "We need to talk." Her hands shook as she set down a glass on the table. She followed me into the kitchen, practically shrinking into the chair across from me. I placed my phone on the table, screen facing up, with the photo that showed her with Marcus. Her breath caught. Her eyes filled instantly. I can explain," she sobbed. "Then explain," I said, my voice steady. "Whose baby was it?" She broke, completely. Tears spilled uncontrollably. "Please don't tell Andre," she begged. "He will leave me. I made a mistake. A horrible mistake." I watched her silently, my heart cold. "Finally," I asked, "did Marcus force you?" Chanel covered her mouth and nodded shakily. He said if I had the baby, he would lose everything. That you might get hurt if you found out. He said your pregnancy was delicate." My entire body stiffened. Marcus hadn't just betrayed me. He had used my unborn child as an excuse to pressure Chanel into ending hers. I felt a sharp, chilling calm settle inside me. "What else did he tell you?" I asked. Chanel hesitated, then whispered something that made my blood run cold. "He told me he was going to leave you. Eventually. That I needed to stay quiet until he figured things out." That was the final cut. Before I could say anything, the front door clicked open. Marcus stepped in and froze. Chanel shot up from her seat. I turned slowly, meeting his gaze with complete stillness. His face drained of color. What are you doing here?" But I wasn't the one who answered. Chanel collapsed into tears. "I'm sorry." I told her everything. Marcus looked at me, desperation twisting his face. "Emani, let me explain." "No," I said softly. "You've explained enough." He stepped toward me, panicked. "Please." I raised a hand. "From today onward," I said, "I am no longer your wife, only the mother of your child. And you are just the man who chose his pride over an innocent life." He staggered back as if struck. I walked past him, opened the door, and pointed outside. "Chanel, leave. And Marcus, don't speak to me until I decide it's time." I shut the bedroom door behind me and finally allowed myself one long, shaking breath. My hand rested on my belly as a small kick answered me. "It's just you and me now," I whispered. "Mommy will protect you, I promise." It took weeks for the final collapse to happen, and it wasn't me who caused it. It was Andre. When he learned the truth, the entire family imploded. Chanel confessed. Marcus broke. My in-laws wept. Andre demanded answers. And in the end, I packed my things and went to my mother's house, legally separating during the pregnancy. Months later, I held my baby boy in my arms, safe, perfect, innocent. Marcus begged to see him. I told him only one thing. If you want to be in his life, become a man he would respect, not fear. Andre divorced Chanel. Marcus faced his family's disappointment alone. And I rebuilt my peace, one soft morning at a time. I looked at my son's sleeping face and whispered, "Karma is patient, and it never misses." If this story touched your heart, tell me in the comments what city are you watching from. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story so more people remember. No matter how old you are, it's never too late to stand up for yourself.